Welcome back to That Handicapping Show. I'm Claire Novak, joined today by Evan Hammonds. First time this year, Tom's in West Virginia. Frank got stuck in Atlanta on the way back from the Jockeys Guild. So, Evan, it's like the
third best.
It's like the Todd Pletcher stable. He always has one to put in there no matter what happens to the first one.
I'll do the best I can.
We're going to take a look at a couple of races today. Of course, the show is sponsored by racing2day.com. That's racing2day.com. We're going to look at some races for 3-year-olds. That's no surprise. I think pretty much through the Triple Crown Trail, that's what you're going to get almost every week from us. But we'll take a look at the Withers, grade 3, going a mile and a 16th at Aqueduct on the inner track, $250,000 on the line for sophomores. And then we'll take a look at the Sam F. Davis Stakes, same distance, same purse. No points for the Derby Trail in this race, but it's a Tampa Bay Derby prep, and that race does provide points. So let's take a look at the Withers, because this race came up a little light, but a couple horses in here, actually New York breds, who seem to stand out above the rest. Who did you end up settling on in here?
Well, I like both of the New York breds. They're very hard to separate, both Uncle Si and Samrat, based on times. They're both like to run on the front end a little bit. Of those two, I would probably give a slight edge to Samrat, but I'm going to pick somebody else in this race to win, to run them down. And that would be Scotland, who in his last race in the Jerome was pinned down on the inside pretty good all the way around, but sat off the pace. As they came into the stretch, both Noble Moon and Classic Jock and Roll went at it, kind of squeezed him a little bit. He backed off. He wound up finishing third. I think he can move forward off that. He also has 2 bullet workouts since the Jerome, so I think he's a horse that can move forward, should have plenty of pace to run at.
Alrighty, you and I both like horses coming out of the Jerome. I like a horse, Classic Jock and Roll, who you mentioned. Kind of got the opposite trip of your pick. He was 4 wide going in the first turn. He was 3 wide going in the second turn. He closed for second 2 lengths back. He seems like a nice improving horse. If you go back and look at his running line, he's always closing wide, and he's always just getting up when he wins. Or if he doesn't win, it's probably because he was wide and closing late. So I do think he seems to have room for improvement. Goes the distance for the first time, just like yours does.
And in the Jerome, he looked a little keen. He moved up to the pace, up to the front end a little bit, and also had a clear run in the stretch, which Scotland did not. So
alrighty. And although I like Classic Jock and Roll, I'm going to pick the favorite, the likely favorite, who will probably be Samrat. Noble Causeway, colt, and really undefeated for Rick Violet. You can't fault him, and especially the way he won the Damon Runyon when he was basically like, see ya, and 16 lengths. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Of course, he needs to do that now, getting a little bit more serious here. But I do think he, when a horse wins by 16 going a mile and 70 yards, you don't need to worry about if they'll get a mile and 16.
You were absolutely correct.
All righty, we'll take a look.
Very astute.
I know, that's right. Captain Obvious here today on the Handicapping Show. So let's move on to the Sam F. Davis, where I'm going to go with a horse who I think is going to turn out to be very good for Todd Pletcher. So now that I've said that, who knows what will happen. I'm a big fan of Harpoon in this race.
Okay.
He draws the rail. This horse, 2 starts back, was runner-up to Cairo Prince, who went on to win the Holy Bull impressively. Cairo Prince, kind of one of the buzz horses early on now for the Derby Trail. This horse came back at Gulfstream on the 26th of December and broke his maiden by 5.5 lengths. He seems to be doing very well. That was going a mile, so we do know that he's had a little bit of a chance to get some ground and will continue to stretch out, I would assume. Tap It Colt, you've got to like that, gearing up for these 3-year-old races.
Great female family from the Winchells.
That's right. And the Let's Go Stable Connections, who last year brought us Verrazano. So I like him as far as winning this race is concerned, but there are a couple of other really good ones in here, including some Ontario breds coming out of Woodbine, trying dirt for the first time, who have already been tested in stakes company. So who do you like in here?
Well, speaking of the first time, we have 8 horses in this race. None of the 8 horses have made a start at Tampa Bay Downs. None of the 8 horses have a published workout at Tampa Bay Downs. So I think you can take the PPs, and you have to be very careful with what you do and very careful with how you wager. So again, always looking for a horse on the way up. I think a horse on the way up, I have 2 of them that are probably outsiders, one of which is Cousin Stephen, Chad Brown's proud citizen colt, who broke his maiden impressively at Aqueduct at the end of the year, and in one start at Gulfstream was sitting right off the pace, and even though he finished fifth, backed off a little. He did finish behind Commissioner, which is another horse that's kind of a buzz horse as we head towards the Triple Crown. As a horse looking for value, I would definitely take a look at School on a Hill. Who's at
Interesting.
post position number 7. Again, based on workouts, the last 2 workouts are very impressive to me. Has some experience, has shown that he can close in the stretch. Female family, it's a bit of a stretch, but it does go back to one of my all-time favorites in Java Gold. So there's some back class there in the pedigree, and again, with none of these horses having Tampa Bay experience, I'm going to throw caution to the wind.
Alrighty, well, School on a Hill was actually supplemented for $3,000 to this race, so the connections have high regard for that runner. I'm going to go ahead and go with Harpoon. Another horse that I like in here is Noble Cornerstone. And of the Woodbine horses, I'm going to give the nod to Asserting Bear just because that horse has a little bit better form. But I will say for Matador, who comes out of a deceivingly, seemingly poor performance in the Coronation Futurity, that horse ran into a hell of a lot of traffic trouble, ended up getting placed 6th instead of 7th due to all the disqualification situations. But I would say that not to knock that last race from that one and keep an eye on him as well. But out of the 2 Woodbine horses, I'm going with the other.
You draw a line through that last one, and he had pretty good 2-year-old form.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, thanks again for watching that handicapping show. For Evan, I'm Claire. Thanks to Briss for the PPs.
Yes.
Thanks to RacingToday.com. Good luck this weekend.